Hey guys, this is Colin from Blackjack Apprenticeship, and I'm joined for a mailbag Q&A podcast episode with you guys with my good AP friends, Joe748 and SD1. How's it going, Joe748?
You got deja vu again. We're here again.
How's it going, SD1?
Still a pleasure to be with you guys.
Awesome. We got a good group of questions. We got some counting questions, some tax and law stuff, and some other AP stuff. We'll see what we can get to, and what we don't get to, we can do next time. Hey, we got busy lives, but happy to be here answering some questions for you all. Starting with, can counting aces and modifying bets while counting cards be profitable if you keep track of each separately? So I think the question is like counting high-low or something like that, and then also counting the aces separately. Can that be profitable?
An ace side count? Yes. It's I mean, the most valuable card in the entire deck is an ace. So that is 100% profitable. Now, can you do it? And can you do it with perfection? That's a big deal.
I think the other thing that's really important is that it's a count that is an ace side counting system, like high up 2. With high low, you're not going to get as much value out of it as something that is designed for an ace side count. So if people want to find that out, we have a list of different counting strategies on Blackjack Apprenticeship that show you the value and, what the different counts are and how much it's going to add to your, not exactly EV, but your edge. And if you want to do that, you can do it. But like SD1 said, it's a lot of work. The people that I know that have done this, they say they mentally fatigue way faster and they can't play as fast. So whether it's worth doing, I don't recommend it unless you're going to only focus on double deck games and you would rather make more per hand at the expense of probably some rounds per hour or even like longevity of session.
Yeah, that would make sense on the double deck game because you do have that extra time, especially if it's pitch or it's way slower. I was playing a side count game it had aces in it. Ace was part of the count and it was minus 11 for every ace you saw. So that was just definitely more draining and fatiguing trying to get used to that.
Yeah, I did a side bet game. The aces were minus something. It was something like that most of the value was the aces. And it was, man, the jumps in the running count were pretty dramatic. It was a little bit harder to get it down than I was expecting, to be honest.
I think if you train hard enough and you can play fast enough with high-low, rounds per hour is king.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Okay. The next question, this is from the BJA YouTube. I asked in the community tab if people had questions. So that's where some of these are coming from. He says, or she says, I've always read that when counting cards to include red sevens because it helps odds a tiny bit. Is this true? Yes, 52 cards will end up +2 counted perfect. So do you guys add red sevens when you count?
I don't.
No.
There's a count called the red 7. So this person probably read the book that teaches the red 7. So it's the same as the last time. You got don't make up a count or hear something and start doing it. You got to research the exact count and not just the count, but then does that count change your playing deviations? Does it change your betting spread? All of that stuff. And so if you're listening to this, there's more to it than just how do I count and I'm going to go to a casino and play. You got to know how exactly to bet off that count and what the deviations are for that count. You need to be able to do it all perfectly. So do your research. To be honest, a lot of this stuff is there at Blackjack Apprenticeship or elsewhere, but you got to do the research. Moving on. What if an AP loses count in a round, but still has the previous count, like what the count was before that round in his mind? I'm sure I've had this happen. So what would you do in that situation?
If it's a 6-deck game, then I would continue with that previous round count, but I wouldn't do this on a double deck game or something like that, or a single deck. And God, no, on a single deck game, definitely not. But yeah, if it's a 6-deck game, then I would just treat that hand as like I just ignore what happened and add that to the end like that. I just added more penetration, like 8 more cards or something to the back.
That's what I would do. Also, I think the one caveat is like if you have under a few hundred hours, maybe that's not the best idea. Maybe it's time to just get up. But the more hours and the more time you have in, the more comfortable you are, I think that's what you should probably do. That's what I would do.
I think there's a scenario that sometimes happens that's in between there. Like the cards come out, you update the rank count, you're like, wait, is that right? And you do know, hey, the round started with a running 12. If you have time, you can re-update your running count. I do that all the time where I'm just like, wait, I want to make sure I didn't double count the dealer's card or something like that. And so you can re-update, but that's where it is very, very important to be very, very fast at counting, because I can recount the table really quickly. But if this happens, what I've always suggested someone do is to just be on the conservative side. When in doubt, be on the conservative side. You know, if you're saying, hey, it's a true 4, or it was a true 4, it's still got to be a true 4, I would bet it a little more conservatively for the rest of that shoe. If I know, well, I don't know if it's still a true 4, but I do know it's still positive, then bet it like it's a true 2 or something like that. So you're not missing out on the EV, but you're also not overbaying your bankroll for an entire shoe if you're actually wrong. But I think you make a really good point, SD1. You want to get to a point where this isn't happening. So don't take from us like, oh, great, if I'm dropping the count constantly, just whatever it was last time I knew. Like, that's a quick way to have no edge. If it happens that rare, like once every 20 hours, just bet on the conservative side would be my advice.
And what do you guys do when, let's say they've already dealt several rounds? What's the max amount of cards in the discard tray would you start the shoe late, getting in late?
Oh.
Yeah. So what you're saying is, let's say you show up at the table and there's already half a deck in the discard tray. The way to think about this, for those who don't know, is that those cards are the exact same thing as cards behind the cut card, because cards behind the cut card are cards you are never going to play and you're never going to see them. Well, if you show up half a deck in, that's half a deck you're never going to play or see. So the question I ask myself is, well, what does that do to the overall deck penetration of the game? If it's a table that cuts a deck and a half off and I've missed half a deck, then that means they're cutting off 2 decks. If they're cutting off 2 decks, like, would I play that game? I guess I would say if I've got nothing else I can do for the next 20 minutes and I'm back counting it and it skyrockets, I would play it conservatively, because I know it's kind of a trash game, but it's some EV. But if it's like, oh yeah, they're cutting off, let's say you only miss the first quarter deck and it's a casino that cuts off a deck and a quarter. Well, would I play a casino that cuts off a deck and a half? Yeah, absolutely. But I'm going to treat it like a game that cuts off a deck and a half. It's a little hard to visualize if you're listening to this on a podcast, but just take 6 decks of cards and go through what I just said, and you'll get it very quickly. That's the way I think about it. I don't know if you guys have any other different way of thinking about it.
No, I think that's the right way to look at it. But do you guys make a practice of doing something like that?
Early in my career, all the time, because it was like blackjack. Gotta play blackjack. You know, like I thought I made money by playing blackjack. Now I understand I make the most money by playing quality blackjack games, positive rounds per hour. And so I'm less interested in doing it. I'd say probably nowadays my cutoff might be that I missed a quarter deck, which maybe is 2 or 3 rounds of blackjack that I missed. More than that, and it's not the quality of game I want to play.
It's so annoying when like you're at a table and you go to try to fit in a bathroom trip real quick in between shuffles or something. You go back and they're already started playing. It's like, oh, like, so that's the only time it happens. Like it's happened to me multiple times where I leave to try to like run an errand in between shoes and they start right away. But I know there's been people have asked that question before in the past quite a few times.
Awesome. This next question here, I don't think I have an answer for, but I'm interested to see if you guys do. What they're saying is, I'm here in Colombia. Can you do a segment on scavenger plays and what plays are slam dunk for EV, such as 12 versus dealer 9, and they are surrendering 15 versus 8, etc. Lots of big errors it appears people are making down here, but I don't know how to calculate the edge.
I think what he's asking, and I don't understand the specific scenarios necessarily, but almost like taking insurance on somebody else's hand kind of a scenario, those kind of things.
Doubling for them when they don't want to double it.
Right. And in some countries, you can play behind somebody too. So I generally stay away from things like that. Playing on my own play is enough to worry about, and my own act, unless it fits in like on occasion, but to constantly be doing those kind of like scavenger plays on a blackjack game, I just personally think that I wouldn't be doing it. And calculate the EV on it, I mean, that's a nightmare. You'd have to take every individual scenario.
Yeah, I was going to say Wizard of Odds, you can calculate, let's say it is a double down. Let's say it's 11 versus a 6, and the person wants to just hit. Not that you could do it at the table, but at home from Wizard of Odds, you could enter that in and it'll show you what's the EV of hitting versus doubling. And of course, it's going to be huge for an 11 against a 6. I think there are obvious ones that might be worth it, but whether you want to do that, maybe it depends. You got to trust they're actually going to give you the money if the hand hits. You need to worry about how the casino is going to look at it and how worth it is. I feel like there was a story. I can even remember which BJ member it was, but I feel like there was a story of someone that tried to do this and then it like went haywire at the table. And it was like, oh no, like maybe the person didn't want to pay them out when they tried to provide the money for a double down. Like the person just wanted to give them their initial bet back, not the extra payout, something like that. And I was like, yeah, you risk that as well. But if they want to calculate on a hand by hand basis, you can do that on Wizard of Odds, their blackjack hand calculator thing.
Have you guys ever had a ploppy do this to you?
Maybe they want to play the side bet. I don't know.
Side bet or double. How about your 7 versus a 6? I had that happen.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I have. I'm not remembering like a 7 against a 6 that it happened on or anything. What did you do it?
I said, if you pay me for my original bet, then yes.
Did they do it?
Yeah, he gave me, because at that time it was $100 bet. He gave me the $100, and I said, "What do we do if we win?" And he said, "Well, we split it." I said, "Okay, fair enough."
That's a good move.
We lost, by the way. Lost.
But you got your original bet back.
Yes, I did.
Yeah. Whoever asked this question, sorry if we didn't give a full answer, but that's the answer we got for you. All right. Moving on. Are whole deck amounts fine for deck estimation, as it seems adding a maybe 5% edge for half deck amounts isn't worth it?
5% edge sounds pretty huge.
Yeah, it sounds massive. I wish you could get 5%.
Well, what they mean is an extra 5%. So what he's referencing is we put out a video. This was, maybe like 5 years ago. I put out a video that broke down the math of what's the difference in EV from using a full deck divisor for your deck estimation, a half deck divisor, meaning dividing by 6, 5.5, 5, 4.5, 4, so on, or quarter deck. And what I found is that going from full deck divisor to a half deck divisor added 5% to your EV. It didn't give you 5% edge, but added 5% to your EV.
Okay.
And then going to quarter deck only added another, I think, 1%. And so the advice I gave in that video is, hey, once I'm good at full deck, I would want to add 5% to my EV by learning the half deck increments, but I wouldn't bother with quarter deck for 1% extra EV. The brain power and the time it would take to say, okay, what's 17 divided by 5 3/4? Like it wouldn't be worth that extra 1% for me. But what do you guys think?
Well, I just thought of a random question. What happens if you do half deck estimations for the betting, but you do full deck estimations for the deviations? How does that change your edge?
Well, most of our money, 80% of our money is from the betting. So my guess is if you did that, you'd maybe get an extra 4% rather than an extra 5% EV. I mean, that seems logical to me. I haven't simulated it, but it seems logical.
So I think several of us teach this at boot camp too. If you are good enough at half deck and or quarter deck, if you're playing a shoe game, 6 deck or 8 deck, I wait until the last third to switch from whole deck to half deck, because a true 2 on whole deck there is much better than a true 2 at the very beginning of the shoe. And when you're switching, you're getting more money out. I think it matters there more. Same thing for double deck. I'll go from half deck to quarter deck, probably a little earlier than the last third. And single deck, you're doing quarters.
Yeah, I think I might have even put this in that YouTube video ages ago, which is like, well, the first thing to do is if you're awesome at full deck amounts, then just for the second half of the shoe, do half decks. So you're dividing by 6 decks, 5 decks, 4 decks, 3 decks, and then 2.5, 2 decks, 1.5, 1 deck. That's kind of like the 80-20 principle of the idea. And when you're bored with that, add the rest of the half deck amounts. But man, it's just a hard sell to say go to quarter deck for a shoe game.
Yeah, no way.
No. All that mental energy can be spent on your act, anything else other than doing that.
I just don't think I'm smart enough to do it either.
Oh, you're a smart guy. You could do it, but that doesn't sound fun.
I'm a smart ass. Smart ass is different.
Oh man, don't undersell yourself. Next question. When moving max bets up from green chipping to black chipping, what can you expect? Well, let's start with red chipping to green chipping. What do you guys think you can expect going from those early red chipping days?
Digging into your pocket a little bit more.
Yeah, seriously. You can buy a lot of chips when you're red chipping with $100.
Well, I remember when I first started, it was like I would bring my bankroll. Like my bankroll is small enough where it would fit in my pocket. My entire bankroll was on me for a session. So it's like I could literally feel, in my pocket how much I'm up or down in my entire bankroll. And that, in some ways, that's kind of more stressful than playing bigger later.
Yeah.
Yeah. I never was a red chipper. My perception is that red to green, I wouldn't think that there's much difference in that for the most part. Now, the caveat is it depends on where you are. There are shops out there that will sweat heavy green action. They exist. Or one black coming out and all of a sudden they're all talking to each other and counseling each other and all scared. So I think it depends on where you are. For the most part, my perception is red to green isn't that big of a deal. But I think you would know a bit more than
You
sure
2K bankroll. And I don't remember what my top bet was, but it wasn't a lot. And I remember I had a 2K bankroll and 500 is how much I brought with me. And I didn't just bring it in my pocket. I brought it in my wallet, my entire bankroll, or not my trip bankroll fit, $500, like didn't even make my wallet fat. And I think the downside to red chipping is crowded tables. Like it's amazing when you can start playing the $25 tables and it's a lot less crowded. The downside to moving up is more scrutiny. I don't think I had a back off for my first 3 months because I was betting up to like 2 spots to 75, something like that. And back off started coming more quickly. And once I was black chipping, it came all the more quickly. Of course, with way more EV. I went from $7 an hour EV to when we were playing off a 200K bankroll, we're expecting a minimum of around 200 an hour EV, or that was our benchmark, was 200. And we wanted to get more than that. So with the red chipping, what you can expect moving up is better conditions, but more scrutiny. What do you guys think about just green chip to black? There's more than just the scrutiny part that I'm already thinking of.
With the green or red chipping, it's like you get way more people who are experts at the table telling you how to play.
Oh, that's so true.
When I'm betting like 2x1,000 or something, no one tells me what to do or how to play or whatever.
Somehow they assume you're an expert because you're betting big. Somehow you're smarter because you're betting big, which we've been in a casino to know betting big does not make you. We've seen enough people betting $5,000 a hand that are terrible at blackjack.
You'll make people at the table nervous. Like they'll be nervous about what they should do.
Yeah.
And they'll say,
and if it's a positive count, I want them to take fewer cards. Stay. Negative count, I want them to hit a little bit more.
Yeah, but it is weird. I remember like going to a riverboat somewhere and they yelled out green action for me. I was like, what? Green action? So then when I was betting my negatives, I would yell to the pit. I'd be like, red action.
There's another thing with, black chipping, you're going to have CTRs. Like I never had a CTR, red chipping or green chipping. And that was really nice. There was never a time where my betting meant I might have to give them my ID. So prepare for that with black chipping. Another thing, if you're black chipping, they're going to want to color you up to yellow chips, purple, or I'm sorry, yellow or even chocolates, like $1,000, $5,000 chips. Of course, I don't want to do that because they usually want to track those. They want them linked to a player's card or whatever. So those are some of the headaches of black chipping. But also with black chipping, maybe you're getting to the stand 17 tables or, even less crowded, better rules, stuff like that.
The toe custling gets harder too.
Yeah.
It is way more toe custling.
More money, more problems.
Yep.
Yeah. I tell people to enjoy the red chipping days because once you move up, you can never go back. It's never exciting to, go back to red chipping, but it was so fun. Every day was a new thrill counting cards. So enjoy it. All right. We got time for a few more questions. So moving on to some tax and law stuff. Just a couple questions here. How do pro blackjack players handle taxes? And this is a short one, but I'll let you guys answer.
I pay my taxes. I pay a CPA to handle my taxes for me.
Yep, same here. Just keep really good records. I mean, I think that's the main key for everyone is keep as detailed records as you can.
There is Russ Fox, Clayton Tax Advisors in Vegas. I mean, we worked with CPAs before I knew about Russ Fox for our entire blackjack team. We were always able to figure it out, but I always had a CPA do it because they'll know how to classify stuff, when you can write off expenses, when you can't, all of that stuff. So don't try to figure it out yourself. Just hire someone else. But my advice, if you're an American citizen, part of your civic duty, what pays for libraries and roads and all that stuff is taxes. So it's not fun, but that's our civic duty. Next question. How concerned are you and other Ps about governments eliminating the use of cash and implementing central bank digital currencies?
I won't be an AP at that particular time in my life, so I'm good with it. No, I think it's going to be a very difficult thing to do in the United States. Eventually, it's going to happen. But I think anybody playing right now doesn't really have a worry. That's just my personal opinion. It's just not going to switch over that fast. That's a major leap. And in a country like this, where we really like our freedoms, even though cash isn't used that much, I think the perception of it would not be great. Now, in other countries, I can see it happening a lot more rapidly.
There was that one casino, I want to say it was in the Midwest, maybe somewhere, that they plan to switch over to all digital, like using your player's card, loading money onto your player. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, there was one in Vegas that was showing off their portals at the tables. And that was I want to say it was 3 years ago. And I've heard nothing about it since.
Penn, you can have your account on your phone and they have where you just put your phone up and it transfers the money back and forth to a machine. They haven't made the leap for tables yet, but apparently that's coming. But they're still going to give you cash to play, is from what I understand. So that doesn't eliminate cash.
Yeah, to me, this fits in the bucket of how much do you fear about something that hasn't happened, that may happen. I try to not worry about things that haven't happened that may happen. People have said this, oh, what if casinos go to all CSMs in the entire world? Well, then I'll worry about it when it happens. Or I'll adjust, I'll pivot. What if facial recognition gets so good that we can never play it at any table? Well, it hasn't yet. So if you're afraid of what may happen in the future, look for something more secure than advantage play. Otherwise, yeah, I just personally, I'll worry about it when it happens.
Yeah, and I wonder if this person, is it because they're hesitant to start learning, or is it like where is that hesitation coming from? There's obviously like a big, like they want to know all the reasons why it won't work before they jump in, or what it, so maybe look inward and see what's going on.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't want to make stuff up about the person that asked the question, but I do know that our brains are wired to fixate on areas of fear. It's like a survival mechanism. If you have two animals, we'll say two cats, one of them has no fears in the world, and the other one, a leaf is falling, and they go and hide. The one that's afraid of everything will live longer. And so it's like kind of baked into us to obsess over fear, but that also can be counterproductive. It's why we love fearful news, because it's like, oh no, what does this mean for me? How am I going to survive? And so I'm not a big fan of letting those fears rule my life, especially because I'm not worried of predators like, maybe our ancestors would have been 500 years ago or further back. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's like, we call it advantage play, but it is still a gamble, like in the sense that it's not a paycheck. So you got to be comfortable with a lot of unknowns to do this.
Also, in the nature of advantage play, so many of the plays change and they come and go,
and come back. If you're getting into this card counting, also like things come back. 2-to-1 blackjack promos come back. Like different opportunities come back and in other forms of advantage play. I mean, it's all a cycle.
But some things won't ever come back, like single deck dealt to the last card.
Never say never, Colin. Never say never.
Probably not going to be the main game dealt in casinos ever again, though back then there were only a handful of casinos in the country. But I think you need to be okay with an adapting landscape, saying, sure, there were advantage plays that were around 20 years ago that you're not finding nowadays, but there are new things. And really, it's like the ones who adapt are the ones that continue to make money. And I've seen both of you guys do that over your careers. It's been fun to see and live vicariously through you guys as I sit at home in my sweatpants running a website.
Oh, we're still in our sweatpants. We're just running around the casino.
Just good. I'm currently in my sweatpants right now too.
But they call them joggers now, so you don't seem as lazy.
All right, we got a few more kind of going into more AP stuff. How often do you seek other advantages in gambling spaces? How well they work out? How did you learn? And they say you can be discreet. I know details are hush hush, so I trust you guys will be discreet. But what would you guys say?
I mean, I'll go real quick. I mean, for me personally, the majority of my, casino winnings have been straight up card counting, and it's reliable. Even with all the losing streaks and break even streaks, it's more reliable for me in the long term. As far as just, I know what I'm going to get. I know how much it's going to come out to eventually. Like it's all very predictable in that way. With the other AP stuff, it's like, it's so much, some of it could be so much higher hourly, but then you have no idea how long it's going to last. It usually doesn't last I can't get 1,000 hours in playing a, 8% edge or something like that. I just haven't been that lucky, but so it's just kind of adapting to that sort of, and you also have to always be on the lookout. You have to always be looking for things and scouting and keeping your ear open. And it's just a constant sort of trying to get a gauge on where these plays are at. So that's another big part of it too. It's just how much time you're spending in casinos. It's like if you're spending a ton of time walking through casinos, you're going to find a lot more stuff and a lot more promotions, a lot more things like that along the way.
I don't want to detract anybody from pursuing either one, being primarily a card counter, other advantage play stuff. I made a lot of money card counting, and I've card counted more recently. I would say that I know I have. I've made more money in other advantage play at this point in my career. And there's pros and cons to both. And this is something that we talk about in boot camp too in the second day. It sounds great to get an 8, 15, 20, 105% edge game. Sounds amazing. Finding that game, learning how to play that game, traveling to go play that game, and hoping that game is still there. There's just so many other things, and the time that you spend, like Joe said, finding things, it's a lot, but it can be really profitable. Guess what else can be? Card counting. And you can just walk in and find a game anytime you want. So there's pros and cons to both of those. In terms of the question, how do you learn? There's a lot of resources online that you can find out about other advantage plays and get started. And my recommendation of people is always networking, but networking in this world it's not easy. So you need to get recognized for your work and your talents. So put the work in, If you want to learn something, an example, hole carding, well, then you better start learning how to hole card. It's going to happen. If you're hole carding successfully, you're going to be seen by somebody else. And that's it just kind of cascades from there. You're not going to just approach somebody and be like, hey, I want to learn to do this. Teach me everything. It just doesn't work that way. And they're not going to tell you secrets. And at least they shouldn't. So there's your discreet part. But learn the skills first. That's what you have to do.
You have to do. There are some maybe lower hanging AP plays you can just figure out from Google and Twitter. Then there are things that are in some books, put some pieces out there. Then a lot of the rest is going to be networking. We do have an intro to advanced plays talk at our boot camp, and it's only at a boot camp because we're not going to put it on the internet. Like I refuse to. And the networking thing, I mean, it's huge, but just be wise about it too, because there are people that network with someone that knows more than them, and then they get scammed. Like I'm not saying one person that I know this has happened to. I can think of multiple people that have scammed friends of mine that started off as like, yeah, let me help you make more money. And it started off great and then went bad quick. So just be wise about, don't jump in with someone until you establish trust and all that stuff. And do they have a good reputation with others, right? In any other field of business, you'd ask around before starting a business with someone or whatever. Like before you hire a plumber, you want to know, do they have a good reputation? So if you're going to do a cash business of advantage play, ask around. So there's as much as I think we're going to give here.
One thing I like about card counting versus other AP plays where it's just, I don't get this as much with card counting, but with other stuff, it seems like not only is my opponent the casino, it seems like my other opponent are all the other APs. And that is nice to not have to deal with in card counting where it's just, maybe someone will be at the table every 100 times. But it seems like with other AP plays, there's also so much more competition and it's a little bit more cutthroat in that aspect.
All right. Is it possible to count in Spanish 21? I heard this is possible by counting aces as -2, but not 100% positive. I know the answer. Do you guys know the answer?
Well, the answer is yes. It is possible to count Spanish 21, but it's not just adding the ace with
that is not what you
do. No.
I believe you have to count in Spanish.
That's right.
When you're playing
Uno,
the game.
Dos, tres. No, there's a book by Katarina Walker. So if you want to learn counting Spanish 21, get her book. But it's not as simple. Like it's got to have the right rules to be worth your time. Like an S17 Spanish 21 table or a double down table. But Katarina Walker's book is kind of the primary resource for that. All right. Have you seen an AP get shunned by their family in the beginning only to have them crawl back when it goes well? Ooh.
Yeah, me. No, I mean, I think we all can share some stories, but for 6 years, my mom has always asked me if I've lost all my money when I'm on the phone with her. And she finally stopped asking over $1 million plus and 7 years down. So she stopped asking me that. And then, but what about you guys?
Families are difficult. Stigmas are difficult. When it comes to this topic, I certainly feel for the families because they're just concerned about their loved ones or their friend. And they're not wrong. Casinos are evil, vile places that want to do nothing but break you and take all your money. That's all true. So I think if you're in a situation like that, sometimes it just takes some time, hopefully. But I'm sure there are family units that are just like, no, there's no reason for you to be in that environment at all. I mean, there's a really good AP friend of ours that's in that particular situation, unfortunately, and he just doesn't talk to his family anymore. So that would suck. Like my heart goes out to you for a situation like that. The running back when it goes well, it's almost like an allusion to, oh, now you have money. And now they're willing to come back. But hopefully it's not because of that. It's because they realize that it actually is a job. Just make no mistake about it. It's a freaking grind of a job.
Yeah, man, that is a tough one. I mean, I think if this is a situation someone's in where they're going to get shunned by their family for doing it, maybe need to ask if it's worth it. If they're going to get shunned, that sounds like there's more family dynamics than, but at least ask yourself, is this worth it if I'm going to lose my family? Maybe it's the tipping point of like, hey, my family's toxic already. Or maybe it's like, you know what? Yeah, I don't need advantage play, and my family's more important. I wouldn't have left my wife if she was like, Colin, I don't want you doing this card counting thing. I'd be like, okay, bummer. Okay. The crawling back when it goes well. Yeah, that sounds like there's other dynamics going on. I'll share my story real quickly. The first person I talked to was my father-in-law, and I waited till I'd been playing for a month or two to mention it when he asked what I'd been up to. And I told him, and it didn't go great. He said he wanted me to talk to, I think it was like 4 or 5 older men that I respected. I was 22, 23 at the time. And then when I like met with these counselors and pastors and stuff and got all their advice and input on it, he was like kind of shocked that I did it and was like, wow, that's really impressive, And so he kind of dropped it as far as being upset. Fast forward 2 or 3 years, and he's the biggest investor, maybe 3 or 4 years later, biggest investor in our blackjack team. So that made a big swing. I think his first concern was like, yeah, what are you doing? And this is really dangerous or foolish. And then he was like, okay, maybe it's not dangerous and foolish. Then it was like, oh, wow, this is actually a really good investment. My parents were missionaries at the time, and my dad was terrified I was going to get like killed by the mafia. And my mom was terrified that I was going to be an addict because there was a lot of addiction in my family, not with my parents, but like grandparents and stuff. So valid concerns, except I felt like, does my mom know me very well? But still, I get it. As a parent, I get it. They took longer to be at peace with it than my father-in-law. But my dad, it was maybe 5 years before he wasn't worried about me, and maybe 7 years before he was proud of me. And then my mom, kind of a similar thing. Maybe, she got used to it after 5 years. And then she was like really proud of the book I wrote, 21st Century Card Counter. When she read it, I think it helped her like really grasp it and was like, wow, can you teach me? And, so, but that was not a crawling back when it goes well. That was just coming to peace with their fears about it, but not that people asked my story.
Well, all you have to do is run $1 million card counting team, have a Netflix documentary made about you, write a book.
maybe eventually.
2 books now. Do you believe me yet?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess, but there are other people that call themselves APs that shouldn't be in casinos. So I don't know if I would just try to figure out what are the family dynamics. Like, can you trust their concerns, their fears? And if it's like, oh no, they just really don't understand it, they're not willing to understand it, then just give them time, I guess.
That was the one thing I was going to add. You just touched on it. There are people out there that I see them every day that call themselves APs. I think it's also maybe a good opportunity to reflect on yourself in that particular kind of situation. Like, are you actually going at this, working your butt off, playing perfect, and are you in fact an AP, or are you just finding another excuse to gamble? Certainly not saying this individual is in that situation, but I think anytime that kind of situation in a family dynamic happens, it's always good to ask questions like, why am I doing this? Am I doing this right?
Yeah, there's a really good forum discussion called "What Does Addiction Look Like?" because it was really brilliantly worded by Curly Fry, who's been on our podcast, where she described her day job before she quit and became a full-time AP. And then she described her job now. And like the full-time day job sounded more concerning in a lot of ways. But there are real concerns about, like, basically you can be a workaholic as an AP. You can be addicted to advantage play. So I think you always want to stay curious about those things and have people that do understand it, that you can trust, if they were to say like, dude, this isn't good for you anymore. That would be my personal advice, I guess. All right. On that dark note,
Yeah, we need a happy note.
Okay. Happy note. Well, first I'll say, hey, if you're a BJA member, check out that thread. What does addiction look like? It's called on the forum. But happy note, favorite Las Vegas restaurant.
I just can't. We're talking about Las Vegas. I hate Las Vegas, but the one thing about Las Vegas is if you stay out of the casinos, there's nothing you can't do, and there's amazing food everywhere.
I'll mention one, let you guys think about it. Favorite, I don't know, but it's definitely one of the ones I think of. It's on my short list, Fogo de Chao. And I know it's not just in Vegas. They have one even half an hour from where I live. But I got introduced to it by Tommy Highland. And man, if you just go for the salad bar, you can eat well. They have this peppered maple bacon, something like that I could eat a pound of that. But then the full thing is it's the Brazilian steakhouse thing. And man, and their rolls, those like rolls that melt in your mouth, I don't know what they are, but I do think they have cocaine in them because they're so addictive. So that's one place that I always think of if it's like, where would be a really nice place to go? I don't know about really nice, but really tasty place to go. What do you guys think of anything?
I really like Oyster Bar in Harrah's. I think it's a really, really, really great place. I'm a big fan of their food. And also a small little joint outside of the strip called Tacotarian. And that is a vegan taco place. And it is super good.
I really like the Shang artisan noodle place on the west side. And I mean, of course, Island Sushi. We've said that a million times. But yeah. And then I don't know. I think just like because we do eat so unhealthy on the road all the time, I just like a solid greens and proteins place just as a standard. I know what I'm getting. I know it's pretty healthy. Like it's just sort of, and there are multiple locations in Vegas. So it's kind of a nice break away from all the comfort food.
Totally. Greens and protein. If you just need a meal and something not fried or whatever. And, you know, I love Island Sushi. It's always going to have a soft spot in my heart, but they lost me a little bit when they went away from the all you can order thing. I shed a tear. I brought my brother there. Like, oh, and I've been telling him about it for, I don't know, however many years. And they didn't have the all you can order thing. It was still delicious, but all right, there you go, guys. There's some top places to eat. And we will be back, I don't know, some other time with more Q&A. And if you want to learn more about card counting, beating casinos, advantage play, all that stuff, check out blackjackapprenticeship.com, where our membership will teach you what you need to know, give you the tools like betting software, forum access, casino database, and access to the pros and a community of card counters. Until next time, take it easy.